Hey, nonprofits, let's raise more money. For this episode, Jason and Trevor riff on how the tone you set at your event directly affects your fundraising and why it is so important to plan for your event to have great energy. Let's get right into it.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Hey Nonprofits Raise More Money. Trevor Nelson, Jason Ledlow.
AKA Trevor Nelson, AKA Bob Ross.
Yeah, I'm a painter for sure. I definitely have done some painted a lot of happy trees in my time. But now we're actually not taking over the painting world. We're taking over the podcast world, Jason, one at a time.
Nonprofit fundraising podcast.
We're the number one nonprofit fundraising podcast in the world, so that's really cool.
In the multiverse,
and we're grateful for it. And part of the reason why is, I think that we have an alacrity for fundraising and for working with nonprofits, a ton of experience, but we bring the energy. And we're talking today about energy, and why it's so paramount and so crucial that you bring the energy at your event. And Jason and I have experienced it both ways. We've seen it where the energy is high and the response is amazing. And we've seen it where the energy is very low. And the response is not that great. Jay, tell me a little bit.
Low.
Yeah, tell me. Yeah, we want to crank up the volume, so to speak, and kind of bring the noise, as the kids call it these days.
Yeah, well,
at your fundraising event.
Here's the thing. I think we have a lot of intentions. I think that nobody goes with an intention to say, "Yeah, I want to have a lackluster, slow,
I want it to be dull,
boring, dull event."
Yeah.
No one goes into it doing that. But you have to plan your energy just like you plan everything else. You plan, your run of show. What are you going to do? Who are you going to have up there on the microphone? Who's going to be on stage? Mm-hmm. I'm not just talking about the auctioneer. I'm talking about your MC. I'm talking about making the introductions. Here are some things that, let me give you an example.
How about the energy at check-in and check-out? How about the energy with the photos? It's got to start from the beginning.
Well, and there's a right energy and there's a wrong energy.
Yep.
Energy is energy. Okay. It's kind of like electricity. Electricity, used the right way, turns the lights on. Use the wrong way, electrocutes you. So we want to think about it in that way. So I want to give an example of what I'm talking about, so everybody that's listening can really understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, give us some context.
Went to an event Saturday. Dear friend of mine called me. He was shorthanded, said, "Could you please come be a ringman for me, go work the floor for this event?" Absolutely. He's a dear friend. I've known him for 30 years. Went and did that, and we're sitting there, and before we go up to do anything, do the fundraising, a guy gets up there, board member, and I'm telling you, he would be the guy you'd want reading a story before you went to bed to put you to sleep.
You pulled a Bob Ross.
I think that he was very passionate. I think that he really cared, but he sucked when it came to pumping up energy, because it was like, "Well, everybody, I really think this is a wonderful cause, and I hope that you'll join me in putting this envelope on your desk out here. We're going to give away a night at the hotel, and if everybody puts their up there and puts some money on it." I mean, it was kind of like this. Monotone.
He might have been the wrong guy for that. Yeah, he might have been the wrong guy.
He's not the wrong guy for maybe what he does in the organization,
but to deliver that message.
But he's the wrong guy to deliver the message exactly. I'll give you another example. This has been several years ago. Doing a fundraiser, the organizers had specifically requested for me not to do the fund a need. Nope. We got Freddie's going to do this. He's one of the board member, past president. He's got a special thing. He's going to do it. Hey, no problem. I'm okay with that. We had an auction, great auction. I step aside. He gets up there. "Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you'll join with me and my wife as we're going to really see this thing." And he gives this story about with all the stuff going on. And it's going to be really exciting. A guy stands up, says, "Put me down for $10,000 for the kids, for me and my wife." This guy has no idea what to do.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. That was very kind of you. So back as I was saying, if he would have asked, there would probably been 5 other people that would have raised their hand at 10 grand. It was a great, a great organization. but the energy was just dead. And we see it over and over and over again in that. Now, let me give you an alternative.
Yeah.
We know a guy did an event in Kansas City this past weekend.
This all happened in the same night, because I have my own story about a very dolly I went to as well. Yeah. Interesting.
So Big Mike, great auctioneer out of the Chicago area, goes to Kansas City, does a charity event.
Yep.
He brings in a mariachi band and dancers. Yep. Now they had a theme. The theme, you know, it was a Latino theme, and they had all this stuff. Well, the energy was freaking cracking.
Absolutely.
I mean, and the whole point of this is, you don't have to hire a mariachi band. You don't have to go get dancers, but you do have to plan the energy. You got to bring some excitement to the room. You got to get everybody's attention, because everybody goes there to see and be seen, to hang out. So you're not going to get their attention unless you do that.
Maybe that fits at that event. Obviously did there, because they absolutely crushed it. And it sounded like a really fun party.
Well, I just think that you've got to be thoughtful about that. It's kind of like picking an auctioneer and saying, well, hey, you know, I'm going to get my Uncle Johnny. He's a real funny guy, and, you know, he tells a lot of jokes, and we're going to get him because he's free. And Uncle Johnny is funny. He is a great guy. He is really entertaining in front of 5 people. But you put him in front of 500 and he's scared to death.
Yeah.
It's a different deal.
For sure. No,
and it just sucks the energy out of the room, because he's telling the only joke he knows, and the one that comes to mind is an off-color joke that he shouldn't have said, and everybody's really uncomfortable now. So, you know, all that stuff's got to be really important. And you're right, it does start with the check-in. If when you walk in, if you're not greeted with a smile and you know, happy and joy and here we are to see, thank you so much. You don't want to put the curmudgeon that you have. Everybody has one. You've got for sure. The curmudgeon who is just, you know, they're just sad sack, Debbie Downer, whatever. They volunteer, they show up, they work their hearts out. Don't put that person in your checkout or check-in space. You know, they're your door greeter.
Yeah, we had that experience when my wife and I were invited to an event on Saturday. All these things were happening on Saturday. It's pretty wild. We have all this data because we're students of this, and I almost feel like it was an inconvenience when we were checking in, and it set a tone. We were there with friends, and that made the night, and it was awesome, and they thought the same thing, but we all thought, were they here to raise money? And that's kind of what we're alluding to as well. It has to be intentional. There has to be a design. You have to follow through with that design, and you want people, not one person necessarily, but multiple people that are outgoing, magnanimous people, gregarious individuals that are going to greet people and make sure they're dialed in with the mobile bidding, and make sure they understand the premium silent auction. They make sure they understand the live auction items, and make sure they understand this and that and the other thing, and can be directed in the right way where it sets a tone. People feel that. We respond to these things because we're human beings. You know what I mean? So, well,
you've got to think of this as what it is. It's a show. It is a show.
You're not wrong.
It's a gala. It's a gala. It's a performance. It's a show.
Yeah.
That's why, you know, if you don't do, you know, there's a run of show. When we start, when we finish, what's going to happen at these different keys. All that stuff has to be planned. And if you plan the energy, and it needs to be a crescendo, you don't want to start off with a bang. You know, you start off with a rock band, you know, and then you quit, it's going to kind of fall off, and you're not going to get that energy back.
Yeah.
So let's start with a crescendo, and let's start little and bring it up big, and really finish with a bang. And that way everybody kind of feels good. It continues to build.
Totally.
You know, and you don't necessarily have to go have a professional MC. You don't necessarily have to go, you know, have a rock star for your event.
No,
but there are some things that you should do. You need to make sure that the person that you're having up there on the microphone when it comes to raise money knows how to control and direct the energy in the room.
Be thoughtful about it. Absolutely.
Well, yeah, you know, and again, don't go get the free guy. And when I say that, I do not mean.
What's your saying, brother? You have a really good saying about that. It's like, well, it's not you pay for what you get, but it's
good auctioneers aren't cheap, and cheap auctioneers aren't good.
But you could say that about everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's always.
We're talking about that with like.
But I want to clarify what I mean by that. If you have somebody that's a professional auctioneer, and they are donating their service to you, there's a difference than the guy that's the volunteer.
Sure.
I'm telling you, there are people out there who are professional volunteer auctioneers. They suck for the most part. Sure. I'm going to call a spade. They suck. There's a guy in my town that's terrible. He is terrible. Couldn't sell his way out of a wet paper bag, but he does a whole bunch of stuff because he's the free guy. Well, I do him for free, and he's terrible.
Yeah. It's time to really take those things into consideration, especially with the advent of sponsorship.
And I'm not looking for a job. I'm not soliciting because I give my stuff away. I do it for free a lot. Or not a lot. I try not to do any auctions at all. I'm in semi-retirement. But when I do, I want to donate that because it's a way I can give to my community.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean, I mean, I've been doing it for a long time. There's a friend of mine, another friend from Chicago. He is probably the best auctioneer I've ever seen in my life. I would pick, he is not a professional benefit auctioneer, but if he could do my benefit, I would have him do it. Mm-hmm. And, whatever he costs is what I'd pay him because he's that good. He's just on a different level. I mean, it's like, he's the Tiger Woods of auctioneers. Mm-hmm. And so you just got, when you have those people, but my point is, don't settle on that part of it. Don't just go, well, we're going to do it. Yeah. Give you another example, another event. You need to put your ego in your pocket. Okay. Oh, check your ego at the door. Put your ego in your pocket. Yeah. You may really have a desire to get there up on stage and talk and hold the microphone and be the party person. Yeah. But is that really where you're gifted? I'm talking about a staff member. Yeah. Yeah. So there's an event where the director of development wanted to be on stage. She wanted to make it her show.
Crazy reason. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she's doing part of the fundraising and she was terrible at it. Yeah. And I mean, and you guys got to understand, I've seen a lot of bad auctioneers and bad speakers and bad stuff. When I see somebody's terrible, I'm talking, they're just not good.
If you're going to go that far.
And, it was not good. And she wanted to get on the microphone and talk and be a performer on stage. Well, you got to go do that somewhere else because people that do this for a living that are professionals work hard at it. Yeah. I've gone myself and have taken lessons on stage presence and making sure that I'm standing the right way and standing up and projecting my voice and finishing at the end, studying video, how the auctioneer says, sold. It makes a difference. And I was studying film one time and I was watching myself do it. And I was like, ooh, man, I've got to pick my game up because I was, so keep those things in mind. And I'm not just talking about the auctioneer. It goes back to check in, to check out, the program, the tempo. Yeah, the tempo. Yep. Don't just think that you're going to have a great mission moment and you're going to get up there and it's powerful and it's going to do everything. You've got to have some energy in it. And the energy could be very palpable. It could be emotional energy.
For sure. I've seen that.
You've got a great story. Everybody, I mean, I listened to a story where the keynote speaker gave this was one of the most incredible talks I've ever heard in my life. She'd done it twice. She was a professional speaker, but she'd only talked twice on this one subject. Mm-hmm. And the energy in the room was palpable. Mm-hmm. And she told about this tragedy. It was an organization raising money for domestic abuse and how her ex-husband killed her children and then killed himself.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm talking, this is a heavy story.
Yeah.
It was very emotional. The energy was very high and it was incredible. So that's not a bad energy because it was the right story, the right time for the crowd. It was palpable and people were there and they, connected their heartstrings. It reached to everybody's heartstrings. And so of course, heartstrings connected to the wallet and we raised a lot of money. Yeah. It's but you don't have, I think just energy, people don't think about it. A guy we know, an auctioneer we know, he coined this term. His whole program is around people, items, and energy. The PI method is what it's his method. And I think it's really appropriate when he goes to raise money, the energy is a big piece of it. Mm-hmm. And so, that's the people that are going to be on stage, the music. I was at an event a while back as a spectator, and they had a really cool thing where they did with the music. You know, it was almost like watching what's the show, the Academy Awards, when they play the music and dun 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 dun, and they all this stuff when they're walking out and stuff.
Yeah.
It was just it was a show.
That's totally cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and
It's also,
you don't have to have the orchestra. I mean, they just used electric music and had it all keyed up. And
yeah, but people respond to those things, man.
They do.
They respond to motion. They respond to emotion, and it's got to be that way. And so, if we can close with a few key points, it's something that you have to think about, and it can't be dull, especially with how things are going in the fundraising space right now. It has to be fun and interactive and exciting and all of these things. And we're also doing that because we're talking about that because it sets an impression, obviously, early on. And you have to keep people's attention. And this is another great way to do it. And we want to also set the tone early on. It also is it's an impression because we want folks when they come to think that, oh, okay, they're really squared away. This was good. That was a good positive interaction. I'm checked in. I feel really confident about that. Because if they're not, if they're scratching their head, it's like, okay, well, where's my wallet? You know what I mean? Like
it's like nobody wants to give money to somebody just pissed them off.
No, seriously, and it's not fun. It just really isn't fun. And so, yeah.
I got one more comment to say on this.
Yeah, please.
The other thing that they don't want to do, they don't want to give money when they've walked in and somebody goes, well, this thing's just stupid. It doesn't work very good. I don't know what's wrong with it.
That's not fun.
I mean, it's kind of like, okay, I'm just here trying to get to my table.
Yeah.
I don't need all that stuff.
Yeah. Just keep it in mind. It's something that we're seeing. Obviously, it was noteworthy and worth talking about and sharing with everybody today, because we went to a couple of events that were just kind of like, wah, 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 wah. And we had to talk about it because there's such a huge disparity between the dull events where you're just kind of scratching and going, wow, this could have been a lot better, and the events where you're going, holy smokes, that was a really good time, and I could tell they were successful. I could tell they raised a bunch of money.
Well, and you're going to want to come back the next year. You get your invitation for the next one. You're going, the snooze fest. I don't want to go to that loser snoozer.
Totally. Yeah,
but when it's a big party and it's a good energy, man, everybody wants to go.
And it's fun. Absolutely. So keep that in mind, everybody. And you're not
wrong. Keep the fun in fundraising.
I'm telling you what, and you're not wrong for thinking about it. So we're giving you, we're nudging folks to continue to think about that and make it a fun experience for everybody, and make sure folks are smiling. Smiles and good times is what we're talking about. So I hope that helps. And Jay, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for sharing, and thanks everybody for listening to another episode of Hey Nonprofits Raise More Money. Do us a favor and subscribe, download, rate, review, and share this episode. If you got anything out of it, with a friend, a family member, a colleague, a neighbor, even. If anyone can get any value out of this, go ahead and share it. Go ahead and pass it along.
Do that, because we'd sure like to do that. And also, if you have any questions that you feel like, hey, I'd like to just see what you guys want to say, Trevor at hgafundraising.com, Jason at hgafundraising.com. Shoot us an email. We're happy to set up a time and talk with you.
100%. Right. We do it on the regular. So thanks, everybody. Appreciate you, Jay. That was awesome, brother.
See you later on.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening. If you love our podcast, click the subscribe button below, like this video, and leave your questions in the comments. See you next time.